welcome to Season 9 of the Eccles Business Buzz podcast. I'm your host, Frances Johnson, and I'm so glad to be back for another great series of conversations with you. This season, we are focusing on alumni stories. We'll hear from alums who have built successful careers thanks to their degrees from the David Eccles School of Business, as well as alums who have used their Eccles experience to pivot into something new. We'll hear stories of how the David Eccles Alumni Network is helping longtime alums and new graduates make meaningful connections. And we'll hear from alums with generational connections to the Eccles School who are continuing a legacy of engagement. To kick off this exciting season, I am pleased to welcome Jonathan Campbell. Jonathan earned a bachelor's degree in finance and an MBA, both from the Eccles School. He currently serves as co-CEO of Campbell Companies and executive vice president of Wheeler Machinery, companies that have been in his family for 3 generations and counting. Jonathan is also a member of the Eccles Advisory Board, carrying on a multi-generational family connection to the Eccles School and the University of Utah. Jonathan, thank you so much for being here today.
Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, Jonathan, your family has been connected to the U and to the Eccles School for a really long time. So to start us in this episode, I'd love to hear from you how that connection started.
Yeah, it's a relationship that has gone back a long ways on both sides of my family. All 4 of my grandparents went to the University of Utah. On my dad's side, his parents actually met at the U. Up at the annex building. It was kind of the meet cute scenario where my grandpa ran into my grandma, knocked all her books on the ground, as the legend goes. And then on my mom's side, both of her parents went there, and her dad was the student body president of the U when he was there. And so, yeah, just a long history of time at the U. My dad's dad helped create what eventually became the MBA program. There wasn't one at the time, and he graduated in 1949 with a degree in industrial management, which was the precursor to the MBA program today. And so we started there, and then my parents went there. A lot of my aunts and uncles went there. I went there. All my siblings have gone there. And just a couple weeks ago, I took my 15-year-old up to look at the business school and just to kind of get him excited about the potential of what he could do. And as of right now, his plan is to go to the U. So hopefully we'll be at 4 generations here sooner than later.
That's such an amazing legacy and such a long tradition of staying excited and engaged in one place and really working to make a difference and then build on that difference. As a 3rd-generation leader in your family's company, you're a big part now of this chain that started generations ago, as you described. Carrying on that connection and that engagement, why is that a relationship that has been important for you to continue?
It's important for a couple of reasons. One, I'm a big believer in the value of education. And when I say education, it's not only a degree. It's not only it's not confined to just a bachelor's degree or an MBA or an advanced degree. There's a lot of educational options that the U does provide, which we use quite extensively in our business. And it's really about giving people the skills to succeed. The U also has, I think part of the reason we have the relationship that we do is because the U has the same relationship with us. It's not something where we're the ones always receiving from the U or they're always receiving from us. It goes both ways. And over the years, we've created great friendships. We've had a lot of benefits come to us from the U. Taylor Randall, who was the dean of the business school, now is the president of the University of Utah. He was on our advisory board, who helped me and my cousin transition the business from our dads and uncles to our current generation. And so there's just been a lot of involvement with the U in our personal and professional lives over the years that have been really, really beneficial for us. So it's something where we like to give back, but see how we can continue to grow that relationship.
Yeah, that symbiotic relationship, right? Both parties benefit. And I'd love to talk about that a little bit later, not just the benefit to you personally, but how a, a relationship like the one that you have with the University of Utah, with the David Eccles School of Business, also benefits your company, right? But I'm going to put a pin in that for a minute and stay personal. For just a few minutes more, you yourself earned 2 degrees from the Eccles School, as we just heard. I'd love to hear about your experience as a student. What was that like? Why did you choose the Eccles School? And as you think about the role that you've stepped into now in your company, what was the part that your Eccles experience played in preparing you for that?
Yeah. Well, I have to confess that I originally started at BYU. My freshman year of
Oh
college was at
no,
BYU.
we'll edit that out.
And we very quickly realized that we were not a match. And so I transferred to the U and kind of started over. And the U was a great fit for me. I know that there's a lot of effort going into transition away from just being a commuter school, but the commuter school was what I was looking for at the time. And it gave me a chance to live with friends, to work, and ski a lot. My brothers and I would ski about 100 days a year.
Oh,
And
wow.
we had what we called the triangle of death, where we would either, depending on our class schedules, ski in the morning or the afternoon, then go to school, and then go work at Wheeler Machinery at night. And they're about 20-hour days and driving about 60 miles a day. But we did that all the time. And
Worth
we had
it.
a lot of fun doing it. Um, I was involved in what was at the time called the Utah Free Skier Society, so the ski club at the U, and ran that for a couple of years with my brothers and some friends. I was on the U soccer team for a little while as well, and so just had a lot of fun up there, uh, possibly to my own detriment. The first time I applied to the business school, I did not get in, and I still have a copy of that rejection letter, and so I had to go back and retake a couple classes to be able to be accepted. But it was a great time in my undergrad. I came out of that. I remember coming out, sitting on the steps of the CRCC and thinking, after my last final thing, now what? What do I know how to do? And just saying, I'm not really an expert in any one particular field, but I do know how to learn. I do know how to study, and I know how to pick something up quickly. And at that time, I had decided to come work at Wheeler full time with the family, and I needed to get an MBA. I wanted to get an MBA, and I had been exploring different options of where to go, and I was looking at different schools and trying to decide. Just kind of an interesting local tie. I'd been accepted at a couple schools, and I was up at Alta skiing, and I was riding up the chairlift, and I realized I was sitting next to my friend's mom on the chairlift, and her dad was with her, and her dad was President Russell Nelson, who was just recently deceased as the president of the LDS Church. And I'm LDS, and it was someone I knew, and he knew my grandpa from way back in the day. And he asked, what are you doing in life? And I told him I'm trying to decide where to go to grad school. And he said, well, what are your options? Where are you looking? And I started listing him out. And as soon as I said to you, he said, I think that's probably where you should go. And okay, that's easy enough. So
Yeah.
it was already very high on my list, but it became really beneficial looking at it from a career standpoint, because I had a pretty good idea of what I was going to do as a career. And I was able to tailor classes and my time specifically towards what I wanted to do and what I needed to know as a career. And that proved to be very, very beneficial and a lot of fun. And so, coming out of my MBA, even during my MBA, there were things that I'd be in class. I remember very specifically being in Abby Griffin's marketing classes and thinking, I can go apply this tomorrow because of whatever project I was working on. But it was just very applicable, very tangible to what I was working on, which made it very, very beneficial for me.
I think this is a huge differentiator of the Eccles School. And I'm sure as you toured with your son and as you've stayed involved with the school, you've seen that this has even grown, this focus on experiential learning and not just what are we delivering students in a classroom as far as like theory, right? Theoretical learning, but what opportunities are we giving them to apply what they're learning immediately in real world scenarios so that when they come out of college and they're living in those real world scenarios, they know what to do because they haven't just learned, but they've practiced. I think
Mhm.
that's really something that makes the Eccles School very unique. And I think it's something that continues to be beneficial. I know, Jonathan, that your company has taken advantage of executive education opportunities and certificate training for your employees. Talk to us about that and how that sort of continuing education, that continuing application has been beneficial, not just to you in your career, but to the growth of your company.
Mhm. Well, I'm a big believer in the fact that the success of your people really determines the success of your company. And what you invest in your people is how you create a competitive advantage. And it's how you improve and develop those people that lets you get to new heights as a company and get better and better results. And when it comes specifically to the U, we realized that we couldn't do it alone. Now we have an in-house, what we call Wheeler University. We have our own in-house training program, which is great. And we do a lot of things on performance management, on technical training for our technicians. But we also know that there are some limitations on what we can do and what skill sets we have in-house. And so as we were looking at how do we expand the training capacity that we have to fill the needs that we have, the thought just came, well, why not just use the U? And not not so much a just use them. It's we have this amazing resource with these experts. Why not go tap into that? And so we have put a lot of time and effort into developing specific leadership programs for our leadership teams. We have a group of women right now going through Women in Leadership, the program there. We have people who have voluntarily gotten advanced degrees there. We have people that we are sending to get their MBAs that we're going to pay for because we see the value there. We've done and are doing very specific skills training. I'm bringing in just an example of that. A couple weeks ago, I took the course. I believe it's developing an AI strategy for your business, and I took that. And while I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, well, I need my whole leadership team to see this. And now on December 9th, I think, that same professor, he's coming out to my company to teach our top 30 leaders about how AI is applicable in our business. And so as I look at what the U's provide, it's not just the breadth of the product offering or the depth of experience and quality, but it's very agile, very nimble. And as we've been able to say, here's a need that we have, the response from the U has been amazing. So, for example, with our leadership development program, I believe it was at our Eccles board meeting in October of 2024 that I mentioned the idea to Jesse Strike. And Jesse's been an amazing partner for us. And within a week, I had Kim Pilger in my office saying, how do we do this? 4 months later, we launched our first course. And it's a 2-year program of 10 days annually up at the U for our top leaders. And to be able to get something developed that quickly is amazing. And it's something that we're continuing to develop in conjunction with the U and the professors. And the amount of buy-in, the amount of interest they have in getting this correct for us and really making sure that we get the value we're looking for is amazing. And they're pushing us in a lot of ways that we need on this. So it's been an amazing partnership.
I love this reminder that, you you can come to the Eccles School and get a degree. You can come to an existing executive education program. Women in Leadership is such a great example. But that this, the U and the Eccles School are a community resource and a business resource. And if you have a need as a company, in your case, this is a place that you can go and say, this is something that I need, or this is something that I want, and how can we work together to make that happen? It's great for the university, obviously, and allows us to develop new skills and offerings, and great for these companies who work in our community and who we want to see succeed as well.
Yeah, it's and we've done it from a fairly broad approach. We have in our leadership development program, we have about 25 leaders from across nearly all of our portfolio companies participating in that. And so they're fairly broad in what they teach from a leadership standpoint, a financial standpoint. However, it's our financials. It's applicable today and tomorrow. And what we ask them to put together is something where they can be in class on a Monday and they can go apply it on a Tuesday in their job, which is what's happening. But we've also gotten very specific. The conversation I had with the executive ed team this morning, actually, coincidentally, was we have a very specific need for some manufacturing support and helping us plan out the process for a large order we have next year at one of our companies. And so we're going to have one of the continuous improvement experts come in and spend a couple of days with our team mapping out the process to build that specific product rather than, and ironically, well, I shouldn't say ironically, let me back. The way that came about is the president of that company is taking the continuous improvement online course. And he's using this specific project and build as his topic as he's going through this course. And he's saying he's having some challenges understanding how it all fits, how it comes together. And then as we talked through it yesterday, so well, why not just bring that professor in for a couple of days with the team and help us build this out with the team? So that's what we're going to do. And how much better off are we going to be by accelerating their learning as a whole team and being able to do a much better job, much more efficient job on these builds than if they were just to go it alone. So that's the type of partnership that I think is really, really exciting and where we see a very, very tangible financial benefit.
And a great example also of all the ways that there are to stay connected to a place like the U, right? We sometimes, I think in a box, like, oh, I'm coming to alumni events or I'm giving money. But what the university has to offer, what the Eccles School has to offer is so much broader than that type of engagement. And again, it's just back to that mutual beneficiality of those relationships. But Jonathan, your family is also a very generous financial contributor to the University of Utah and the Eccles School, particularly through scholarship support. And I'd love to talk about that a little bit, hear from your perspective as you look at all the ways that you are involved with the school as a family, as a company. Why are scholarships something that are so meaningful and important to you?
Scholarships and our participation in funding scholarships, they are really there for people who have the drive, who have the desire and capability to do something with it, but just simply need a little additional support. Someone who needs a hand up rather than a handout. And what's been amazing to see as we've gone to know some of these scholarship participants is you hear about their backgrounds, you hear about the work that they have put in to get to where they are, or the sacrifices that they personally or their family have made for them to go to college or even be in a position to do that. And they just need a little extra boost, a little extra support. And to me, it's not just about the financial support. It's also letting them know that someone believes in them. Someone believes in what they can do with that education and that skill set. Ultimately, we want to make the world a better place. And so if by making what ends up being a relatively small investment financially in someone, allows them to go make a difference in the world in some way, shape, or form, I think we're a whole lot better off for it. And so you look at the amounts of the scholarships, it's not funding their entire education. Um, it's not necessarily something that's going to be this make or break moment for them. But if it gets them a little closer to their objective and to the finish line to where they can really start doing something great for someone else, I do believe that the knock-on effects are pretty significant.
We hear all the time from scholarship recipients exactly what you're saying, that it isn't just the money, it's knowing there's someone in my corner. There's someone who believes that I can do something good or something great. And that is incredibly motivating to students who are coming from a challenging background, who maybe don't have personally in their families or in their communities someone who can be that champion or someone who even understands how to be that champion. So I totally agree. The money is crucial. It opens the opportunity. It opens a door that might have been closed. But that sense of someone is rooting for me and I want to do well for them, I think is really an important part of why scholarships are so critical to so many of our students' success. And I also love what you said, Jonathan, these knock-on effects, right? It's not just investing in them, it's really a reinvestment in our own community, in a pipeline of potential employees for you and for other companies here. It is a generational, multi-generational, sort of multi-area benefit that we all gain something from. Dean Dirks talks a lot about the role of the Eccles School and the U in the economy of the state, and certainly allowing as many students as possible to have a positive educational experience is a major economic driver that we all benefit from.
Yeah, when you look at kind of the collective impact that comes out of the Eccles School across the state. Yeah, I think one way to look at it, what if the Eccles School went away tomorrow? What would the impact be? And it would be a tremendous impact. There'd be a tremendous hole, not just today, but down the road, um, based on what comes out. And so the more we can invest in people's success, the better we're going to be. One of the sayings that's been around in our family for a long time is that money's only as good as the good you can do with it. And so, I heard someone else say the other day, they've never seen a hearse with a U-Haul. You can't take it with you. So do something good with it while you're here.
Yeah, I love that. Well, Jonathan, speaking of the role of the Eccles School in our economy more broadly, as a member of the Eccles Advisory Board, you're in kind of a unique place to maybe have a little bit of a crystal ball, a sort of window or unique perspective about the school and where the school is going and what we have to look forward to. What right now is most exciting to you about what's ahead for the school?
What excites me the most is, and this is coming off of our most recent board meeting just the other week, is I feel like a lot of the foundational pieces that have been placed over the years, going back to Dean Randall's time, with the experiential learnings and some of the programs or honors types programs and study abroads and the Lassonde Center thing. It's all starting to really gel and come together to create a very unique value proposition for the school. And to position the school in a way to where it can really match what the students want. You can have the on-campus experience. You can be a mechanical engineering major and come out with a very solid understanding of business. And it's taking that business degree, that business understanding, and spreading it throughout the university, which I think is unique. And so I think part of it as well is the vision of where the school needs to go and how it needs to be positioned in order to continue to add that value. We had a long discussion on what does a school do from an AI education standpoint, and I really, while it's a tricky topic to figure out, I really, really like that the school's not shying away from it. Dean Dirks is not shying away from it. He's saying, how do we embrace this, but how do we embrace it in a way that works for the students, but also works for the employers? It's not this myopic view of it only has to work for the students. We want people to come out of the school knowing how to use it, being productive, being able to add value quickly. And so I think, there's a lot of really good things going on, which are really exciting, but it all kind of goes back to that value proposition where it's the right cost for the students, the right support is there, they're going to get the right degree, and they're going to come out being able to make an impact very, very quickly for the employers. There's a concept that we look at with our employees. When we bring someone on board, we look at the time to value. How quickly can that new employee start to add value to the company? There's always going to be an onboarding time, and it takes some time for them to get fully ramped up. But if we can have a student come out of the Eccles School with a shorter time to value, meaning they're contributing in a very meaningful way to their employer than any other school, then they're going to be the top pick for the employers, and they're going to make the right amount of money. They're going to get into the right industries and the right jobs. And I think we're very, very well positioned to do that today, but do that even better going forward. So that's what really excites me.
I think there is a lot of really great things ahead for the school. And I love how you described it as building on all these pieces. And now we're at a place where we can say, how do we bring all these things that we've worked really hard on together to create that unique value proposition? We often refer to it as our next chapter of growth. The school has been growing a ton in programs and students and buildings. I'm sure when you were there recently with your own family, it looked really different from how it did when you were a student yourself. It's certainly very different from when your parents and your grandparents were students. We often tell alums, if you haven't been back in a while, come back, because it's really a new place with a lot of exciting things ahead.
Yeah, it has changed a lot the last couple of years. It's very different in a very positive way.
Yeah. Well, thinking of that sort of change over time, I guess. For a lot of people, college is sort of a moment in time. You go, you experience it how it is, you move on. For your family, that's been a very different kind of relationship. And I think it's quite unique to have such a long-standing relationship with the school into the fourth generation of students at the U and at the Eccles School. Just to close us out, and maybe as sort of a pitch to other people, other companies, why is maintaining that connection to the school, but to that network of alums, an important thing to invest in?
Yeah, I think let me start with the company side. If you want a competitive advantage, invest in your people. And it doesn't mean that you have to have every resource internally. The U has been a phenomenal resource for us. And it's something that we're going to double down on even more. We're going to continue to invest there and build that relationship because we see the value in that long-term relationship between Campbell Companies and the Eccles School. When it comes to other alumni, I used to think of the alumni connections as other graduates from my own cohorts. And yes, you maintain those relationships, but I found a lot of value in getting to know alumni from different cohorts, whether they graduated before me, well before me, or after me. And there's a lot of benefit to those relationships outside of school-related topics. We've been able to collaborate with other businesses who are run by alumni who can provide a lot of benefit to us, or we're able to provide a benefit to them. So there's There's a business aspect of it where we can go and collaborate and work with them. There's a mentoring relationship there where I may be working on something that they need support on, or they may have experience that I need to tap into. And so I think it's looking beyond just that cohort that you graduated with or the group that you went to school with. They're great. And I think it's very well worth maintaining those connections. But I think as you start to expand that network and you have a built-in relationship, you have a built-in starting point, there's a lot of value to be gained by building out those relationships and getting to know others.
People are so proud of the University of Utah, and I think that maximizing that bond to everyone's advantage is so valuable. We certainly are grateful as a school to have partners like your family and your company to help us make that alumni network great and make it of value for everyone. And I'm so grateful, Jonathan, that you joined me today on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for joining us for the start of a new season of the Eccles Business Buzz podcast. We will be back in 2 weeks with another inspiring alumni story, and I really hope you'll join us. Make sure to subscribe to Eccles Business Buzz wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss a new episode. You can also follow us on Instagram at Eccles Alumni for all the latest news from your Eccles Alumni Network. Until next time. Eccles Business Buzz is a production of the David Eccles School of Business and is produced by University FM.